Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reds Rundown podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob. He's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. I'm miserable, Joe. I'm miserable. I'm tired of the Reds right now, but we're doing this because we love them at the same time. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right personally. I'm just, you get to the point in the season where you just don't let this team affect your mental health. It's just a burning deep in your gut. It's not like on the physical precipice of anything. So, it's been a rough couple weeks here. I mentioned if they won 3 out of their 9 games without Elly or 4 out of their 12, they'd be in a good spot. And I think the more frustrating thing, Rob, is they've been so close to doing that, so close to staying just good enough. With several games going to extra innings and close scores and blown leads late and so many close games, and that's the most frustrating part about this team. And you get to a point now where there is a tougher schedule coming up until we get to the All Star break. There's one easy team we're going to talk about this week, but it's definitely not a fun time to be a Reds fan when we're already seeing stuff about selling and all that stuff on a year that we were supposed to do a lot better. So it's rough, and we're here for everyone's shoulders. We're here as shoulders for everyone to cry on if they need it.
Please like and subscribe so you can come cry in the comment sections, and we'll do the best we can to lift you up. But I will be honest, we are struggling. The one good thing I will say is Joe asked them to win 3 of their 9. They have done exactly that. They have won exactly 3 of 9. So we're going to find out if we can answer today's question of the day. You guys will need to let us know in the comments below. Can the return of the injured players that we're going to talk about today, Joe, be enough to get this team back over the hump? I had I had a discussion with somebody on Sunday discussing that exact thing and kind of the path forward for the Reds if they could get those things back in order. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll go in the games this week. Padres Diamondbacks. We'll talk about the injuries and the transaction report. We'll discuss, that exact topic. Will those guys coming back be enough? We're also going to talk JJ Bleday. Should the Reds keep or trade him? And then we will get into Mets Yankees. It's the New York series, but only one of them will be in actually New York since we already played the Mets in New York. So, okay, Joe. Let's get into this here. We're back to not. I want to just talk Padres and Reds overall, Joe. It was a big series there in San Diego. Felt like the Reds were in a good position. Game 1, Joe, they had a lead early, and guess what happened? The bullpen blew it. The Reds had an early lead, and the bullpen blew it, but they came back and were able to win the game 2. And then game 3, the Reds actually got some good stuff from some guys. They were up once again, came back, took the lead again, and then lost it late in the game once again. It's the same freaking story, basically. Yeah. I don't know, Joe. This was just a really, really frustrating week of baseball. And, despite Spencer Steer owning the Padres, it was just not enough. I mean, Sal Stewart tried to do some heroics. The pitching staff, specifically the starters, especially in this series, were all really good. This was Brady Singer's best start of the year. Caleb Ferguson had his first bad game of the year. Chase Petty did what he could, coming in a relieving role for only the second time in his career. I don't know, Joe. This was a really rough series.
It was. I'll talk about the bright spots first. You're right. Starting pitching really starting to come together. We'll talk about that next series as well. That's something we've always had, I think, over the last several years, minus like just injury times where there's injuries, and that just happens. Um, you know, Day had a double in this. McClain had a double in the first game. That is good. McClain is seemingly hitting the ball a little bit better and maybe more comfortable playing shortstop. We talked about maybe players playing certain positions make them better. They're more comfortable at those positions. Matt McClain played shortstop his whole life. Then he moves to second base and he has not had success at the plate since he moved to second base. He also was injured too. That's also a factor. So put that in there. But maybe that's good for the short term when Elly's out. Sal Stewart, clutch moment, go ahead home run against the Padres in the second game. That's really cool. Suarez had a double, and that Whereas I don't think still is playing well, but he at least is hitting for more power. Remember earlier in the season he was hitting just singles. Now he's hitting doubles. He's hitting some home runs. So maybe that can be the start of him turning it on. Um, there was the second game the bullpen was solid. Chase Burns was solid again as always. And yeah, Singer had the best start of the year. Third game we had 3 home runs all day. Steer and Suarez. It's just the same thing. It's just like everything doesn't happen at the same time together. When we put like a full baseball game together, we usually win. Like the bullpen holds up with the second game of the series. Sal had the clutch home run. Suarez had the double. We had the bullpen stepping up. We had Chase Burns have like 6 innings of 2-run baseball. We usually win. The problem is those are so few and far between. The bullpen will flutter out. We'll have a Singer bad start. We'll have the offense go down the drain. And usually it's like only 1 out of 3, whether it's starters, bullpen, or hitting. And I guess even in the Diamondbacks series, we could even say 1 of 4 elements of the baseball game because there was a lot of bad defense in that series.
Yep.
But usually we only have 1 or 2 facets of the game being covered. And when we do put it together, we do win, but it doesn't happen often enough for this team to be consistent. And that's what's frustrating. But those were the nice moments of the series. And yeah, there's some bad still. There's obviously some of game 1 and 3, there was some bad bullpen pitching too. So more of the same.
Well, and to your point, Joe, if there are 4 things that need to go right for you to have a perfect game of baseball, you just need 3 to win. And consistently, the Reds will get 1 really good one, a second one that maybe is there, and then the other one will just disappear. And this was, the perfect example of it. I mean, your PFPs and everything. I mean, that is so basic. And I know everybody's moving around the diamond, but my God, I mean, it cannot be that hard. Like, it just... At a major league level, you look like a dysfunctional, a peewee team, man. I mean, I got mad at my high schoolers for messing that stuff up. It's just know your job and do your job. That is it. That's just what it comes down to. And if you make a mistake on one of those 3, fine. But 3 of them was it was embarrassing. It was extremely bad, and I don't know. This team they were so close, Joe. Like, they were just so close to winning all 3 of those games at different points, and they just couldn't pull it off. And it was just a nightmare. I will still say as well, by the way, this team can't hit with runners in scoring position. I don't understand it. They're getting hits, and then they're just leaving guys on base. They're getting walks, they're leaving guys on base. It is a frustrating thing. They're just not doing the little things right. Just hit the damn ball to the right side. I don't know. Like, you ever heard of doing that? Like, just take an extra pitch. I don't know. Just do anything other than strike out or ground out into a double play or pop it up in the infield. Baseball's a hard game. There's no doubt about it, but you're a professional for a reason, and there are just things that are not getting done that need to be done. It's just plain and simple. Let's go D-backs, Reds. That's same shit, different day. At least Noel V. Marte started to find himself. He hit his first home run of the year. An absolutely scorched ball, by the way. The Reds got more good starting pitching throughout this series. Lodolo looked solid. Rhett Lauder had his best game of the season. And Andrew Abbott was fantastic. He's lowered his ERA now back to under 4, Joe, after all the things everybody was complaining about. JJ Bledays continued to hit. Marte had another home run in game 2. Matt McLain, like you've talked about, has been hitting a little bit better. He's raised his average almost past 210 for the first time since pretty much the beginning of the year. But you had the Friday game, which was a solid game. You felt like the Reds had a great chance going into it there, and Blake Dunn drops an absolute mind-boggling, just no reason he should have dropped that ball. Everything explodes. The Reds, win the second one 2-1. Their only wins this week, by the way, were both, no, they weren't both 2-1s, but this was a 2-1. They were both close games, but that's kind of how they've been. And then the last one, they go into the 8th inning, and you're thinking, okay, things are good. They bring in Maxwell. He's been looking better. Home run, gives that up. Rain delay, Paddock comes in the 9th, does nothing, and then the Reds offense pretends like they're out there, but they're not really mentally there. They go 0 for 5 again with runners in scoring position. Game 1 was crazy. They shouldn't have lost that. They had him on the freaking ropes. I mean, they took out Eduardo Rodriguez in the first or in the third inning. I almost did it in the first inning. I mean, he walked 5 guys, and they go 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. I mean, it is mind-numbingly bad, is what it is. And I don't know. Like they went one of these two, but they easily again should have won 2 of 3, maybe even all 3 in this one, Joe. But it feels like they've lost that swagger, they've lost that confidence, and they've forgotten how to win baseball games.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier with the Padres series, it's coming from all over too. It's infecting every part of their game. This season, we started off as a good bullpen team. Obviously, there's some injuries, but now we're like one of the worst in the league. And we started off as a good defensive team for the first couple of weeks. Now we're bad at defense, and it's showing up everywhere. And that's something where I really think leadership has to come under scrutiny. That it's obviously front office. We've talked about that enough. We talked about Terry enough, but I think players in the clubhouse have to provide better leadership now. And I talked last week that it's tough to be a leader on this team when you're not playing, when you're hurt, when people are slumping. That's when you need someone to kind of come take the edge off. And I thought Gino would be that guy. I still think Gino can be that guy. Positive vibes only, all that stuff. Where like, let's just go play baseball and have fun. They had a little bit of a thing going with the Tito Speedo for a while. That's obviously died down with some of the losing record. But we need to take the edge off a little bit and just go have fun and play baseball. To your other points, Rob, yeah, we're hitting more home runs than we did last year. I'm not sure I would trade. I mean, 9 points in batting average. We're down. We were 238 batting average to 229 this year. All our home runs are solo home runs. It's crazy.
I know.
The Padres series, even the D-back series, most of Marte's home runs, I believe, are solo shots. It is. We need someone who can get on base. I don't care if it's Joey Votto reincarnated going batting for or on base percentage of over 400. I don't care if it's a Luis Arias getting on base because of his hitting and not having good walks. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Elly just playing tomorrow, even though we're going to talk about his update later. And they need someone to get on base so that their hitters, power hitters at this point, like JJ Bleday, who's been killing the ball for the couple months now, and Sal, who's been hitting home runs, and Spencer Steer, who turned it on for the last month or two. They need someone on base for these guys. You need. I know it's something that people overlook at this point, and just in baseball's history. Whether you want to say on base percentage, when you want to say batting average, I don't care at this point. They need people on base, and when they are on base, they need to knock them in. It's crazy how often we leave runners on base. It's crazy how often we just don't even have runners on base at all, and these guys hit home runs. So that happens, and yeah, the defense just, really broke down. That Blake Dunn error, Nate Lowe had an error in the third game of the series. They couldn't field sack bunts against the Padres at 3 straight. That cost them the game, basically. That was a frustrating game to watch. This team has gone from something I think that was fun to watch at the early part of the season to, so many elements of it too. Like Elly's playing awesome, the bullpen's good, the starting pitching's hurt, but they're battling, and some guys are eating innings. And yes, I'm frustrated with Singer and Paddock and all these other guys and when Paddock did join. And we have Sal Stewart as a rookie who's hitting the ball. We have it felt like this thing where Gino's going to turn it on and we're going to be good. And it's become a frustrating thing. And yeah, the only thing I can say is, Marte having a good series. Let's hope this gets him going. Let's hope Gino, he always has a turnaround at some point in every season, just about most of his seasons. Let's hope he has that turnaround here soon and they can get things going. It doesn't look good because it's just so many facets of the game are failing. Like I said, sack bunts are really easy to field. You just take the out, as Billy Beane said in Moneyball.
Yep.
That's something you can do. And they couldn't do that. So they need someone to get on base. Most importantly, if this is a team built on pitching and defense, they need bullpen to pitch better. They need the defense to play better. Otherwise, they need to get more people on base and knock them in. Ideally, they would just do all of it. But I think we're so far away from that point right now, which is the kind of thing that's kind of making it tough to watch the Reds.
I think that's a nice way to put it. Making it tough to watch the Reds has been, I just can't even do it. Like you said, I just get too emotionally upset with it. Like I'm watching the games like casually, but I can't like just sit there and focus on every pitch anymore because it's like, the Reds get a lead and then, the starting pitching's fine and then the bullpen fucks it up, or, hey, the pitchers, are there and everything's going well, but the hitters can't seem to hit a guy who's got a 10 ERA and, they make him look like he's the next Cy Young Award winner. It is just so mind-numbingly bad. And I don't know what the fix is, Joe. We're going to talk about one potential one here in a minute, but it was a really frustrating week again for the Reds, more because at least they're not getting blown out every game like they did in that last major losing streak. But like, dude, this team is just hard to watch. They're just hard to watch. They are not playing well. And I think they don't have any confidence right now. They don't have confidence that they're going to go out there and win a game. They don't have confidence that they're going to go out and get the job done when it needs to get done. I think a lot of that is stemming from there is no lead that is safe from this bullpen at the moment. And that can be really, really hard as a hitter, especially as a starting pitcher, to think you got to go further in the games. As a hitter, well, we got to press and try to hit more. These guys, there's not a clutch gene in any of these guys right now. Even Spencer Steer, who I love, but he's had plenty of opportunities the last 2 weeks with guys in running, in scoring position because they moved him up in the order. And it's like all of these guys thrive, batting 6 through 9. But if you put them up in the top 5, they just can't seemingly do what they need to do. Matt McClain is like one of the biggest head cases I've ever seen. Oh, he can only hit if he's playing shortstop. Oh, he can only hit if he's batting 9th. As soon as he starts doing anything, we're going to move him up to the 1 hole. He strikes out 3 times in a game. Like, just have the same approach every time. Doesn't matter where you are. Oh, you guys get to see my cat in the background. Doesn't matter, like where you are. Like, I just, it is incredible, just the mental aspect of this game that people don't give credit to, and how much it is clearly affecting basically every player. We have a plague going through that clubhouse right now, Joe, and not a single person out there feels like they are able to do what they need to do to just get the job done. Even the starting pitchers, I think they're pushing themselves too hard, and I'm very worried about how it's going to look here, like, soon enough. I'm extremely worried because you can see them. They're fighting for extra innings. They want more pitches, and it's just it's gonna lead to problems. I'll put it that way. Let's go injuries and transactions. Here's the deal. So Emilio Pagan, he had a June 13th MRI. They said it's all clear. He's good to start facing hitters. He's going to do simulated live BP on June 16th. That is tomorrow, Joe. So good news for him. Still probably not going to see him until early July, I would say at the earliest. More good news for Hunter Green. He faced hitters again in a simulated game / live BP on June 13th in Goodyear, Arizona. He's scheduled to begin, this is the good one, a rehab assignment with ACL Club and pitch 3 innings on June 18th. A lot of people thought he was going to be back till the end of July. I was telling you, I think early June or late June, early July makes sense to me right now. They're going to build him up to where he can go 6 innings in the minors, and I think they're going to rush and get him back here because they need him bad. Pierce Johnson is scheduled to face hitters in a simulated live BP game today, so that'll be hopefully good news. And then Elly De La Cruz, MRI exam on June 12th revealed that he is pretty much healed. He is starting a rehab assignment, according to Charlie Goldsmith, this coming weekend. I think if it was up to him, he would be playing for the Cincinnati Reds today, Joe, but he's not going to be able to do that. The last little bit of news here is that Sam Haggerty, a former Rocky and a few other things, teams, he's an outfielder. He signed a minor league deal to give the Reds a little bit of outfield depth. Honestly, don't mind it. I think he's a pretty solid player. I think he's probably going to be one of the better guys you have down there. I don't know where he's going to play necessarily, but it makes me think they just may not have that much confidence in TJ Friedl, even though he's been hitting okay down there in AAA. But with Hector Rodriguez tearing it up, we will have to see. But Joe, this leads me to our big question of the day. Will these guys be enough? I think these 4 very specifically. There are other guys who are injured. Trevino came back, by the way, as well. But I think these are the 4 big guys that have a chance to all come back kind of around the same time. Can they be enough? I would love to hear what you have to say, and then I've got a nice little mini monologue that I gave on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. They're just digging themselves too far of a hole. And yeah, they're in a similar spot to where they were last year at this time, maybe a little bit better than what they are now. But you have to turn things around quickly. You have players still have to come back from injury at this point that I think last year we weren't as worried about that. We had a lot of our top guys there at least. But I'll pump some sunshine for a minute just to kind of make things believable that maybe we could. Like, I'm not going to rule it out, basically. There is a world where Hunter Green comes back and he is fine. They did it slowly with him. Obviously, not Tarek Skubal, where they're rushing him back, where it happened way later than Hunter Green and, all that. He goes back. He's elite. Pierce Johnson in the bullpen really helps things. Honestly, just taking the worst bullpen guy, whoever it is that day, you don't want on the team because there's so many guys who are candidates to be sent down or cut or whatever, DFA'd. That helps immensely. Pagan, if he's able to come back too, that's two different spots. And then Rob, if Green is coming back, and we're already talking about an innings limit for Chase Burns, guess who's going to the bullpen?
Chase Burns. Yep.
And I'm cool with that. If Hunter Green really is good, and it does seem like Singer's starting to figure things out. It does seem like Lodolo is getting a little bit more comfortable. Rhett Lauder had a good start. Obviously, he's still kind of newly back. Andrew Abbott's good. Obviously Chase Burns moving to the bullpen, that's a little bit of an adjustment that he'll have to get with. But once his last couple of appearances last year, he was really good. So I know he started off shaky in the bullpen. That is 3 impact pitchers to the bullpen, and I would say a push. Like you could expect the same output as Chase Burns gave as like Hunter Green, or maybe a little bit less just because Hunter Green's coming back from injury, right? But Hunter Green has been that guy before for us, so that is my pumping sunshine kind of idea. Is the bullpen gets much better with 3 new arms there. If they do want to limit the innings for Burns, if they somehow want to keep him in the starting lineup or starting rotation, I don't think it's going to be the case, but that is also in play. But he could be a lights out closer for us. We've been having trouble lining that up for us. But that's the only way you can kind of keep him involved and not just shut him down for the whole year. On top of that, getting Elly back, yes, he is our best average hitter this year by a decent margin. He's hitting 280. So that's going to be something that's huge for us. He's getting someone on base. Moving him up in the order, I think, was a good move by Tito. It sort of was working, and then obviously he gets hurt and things aren't working as well. He also has a 346 on base percentage. That's not the best on the team, but for a guy who was such a high strikeout guy in his past, and even a little bit this year, that's still pretty good for the power he provides. And when he does get on the bases, he does have some speed. Like we were saying, good season for him so far. And it also helps the lineup a lot, too. So when you're saying, like, you're building the lineup now, it is a lot tougher. We're having Blake Dunn, who's playing well. Like, Blake Dunn's batting near the top of the order for a lot of these games, right? That's not the greatest in the grand scheme of things, even if he is playing well. Spencer Steer's been moving around the order. As you said, he kind of cooled off at the end of this week. You don't have the Elly in there. JJ Bleday's been kind of cooling off as well. Like, Marte's been the one who's been hot this last series, and it's hard to structure a lineup that works, but when you have Elly in there and someone getting on base at the top of the order, it gets a whole lot easier. So when you have protection in the lineup too, like we talked about Suarez maybe protecting Sal Stewart. Now Suarez has moved down the lineup. It's not really the same case. We're going to have more protection for everyone if Elly's in the lineup. It's just one extra tough out to get. It makes our lineup deeper too. I remember when I went to the game against the Royals last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. Yeah, the 7, 8, 9 hitters were just outs. It was like all 100s. Where at this point of the season, they were all batting 100. So that's my like optimistic view is like, yes, they are a much better team because of their ability to move guys to the bullpen. They get their best player back, obviously, in Elly. The starting rotation should stay about the same, and that's been rolling. Obviously, you take some relief off of the starting pitchers with those guys who go to the bullpen. There's a path for it. Are they going to magically come back and win the NL Central or make the playoffs even? I would lean no just right now, just because we just don't know when these guys are coming back, how good they're going to be. If another bullpen pitcher gets injured, that just makes us even weaker and no depth on the bullpen. So they might have to make another move. And that's something we're already talking. Some people are talking about them being sellers at the deadline, Rob. That is very much in play if things stay the same. But if they do want to compete, if things start going in the right direction, it will probably take more than this. They'll probably have to go get another bullpen arm or 3, maybe, to help this team. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't think it's going to help on the long run, but there is a path, and that's the path.
All right. I like your path because it's similar to mine. So you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Here's how we go. The Reds are only 4 games back in the wild card. I've given up the division. I don't know that anybody's going to catch the Milwaukee Brewers right now. It will take a miracle of epic proportions for anybody to catch them. So at this point, it is, can we catch the St. Louis Cardinals, Chicago Cubs, Pirates, just start passing them? We are well within range of doing that, Joe. 4 games. To be specific, which is better even than we were last year with only a month left in the season. We had multiple months left in this season. So I want to start there. Here's what happens, right? Pagan, Johnson, and Elly and Hunter may all come back in the same week. That last week of June, maybe early July, right? If this team can tread water and be 5 or less games under 500. This is going to unlock this team in a way that we have not seen because, like you said, Green comes back, Burns goes to that bullpen. What this does is that means that you can keep Caleb Ferguson, who's been solid. You can keep Sam Mole, who's been solid. You can keep Brock Burke, who has been, for the most part, when he's not overpitched, solid. Then you can have Chase Burns, Pierce Johnson, and Emilio Pagan. That 7 is a very solid bullpen. It really is. If Antone's your first guy out of the bullpen, that dude has still one of the best ERAs on the team, right? And he's been pitching very well. You have 3 lefties, which is something that no other team has, right? Like really and truly. Like I can't mention very many teams that have 3 solid lefties and ones that can get righties out as well, other than Sam. But he's actually been able to do that relatively better this year than he has pretty much in any other year. You get Elly back. The hitting's not been terrible, but they haven't been great yet. Elly, I think, helps to unlock the hitting. You catch Suarez at the right time. Next thing you know, this team goes on a 5-game win streak, and they're right there. And you know that they can. When they are healthy and at their best, they can do that. When a team is missing, you chop the head off the snake, right? When you are missing your star closer, I know that people don't like to say him as that, but whatever, it doesn't matter. He's still the top of your bullpen. When you are missing your ace, your number 1 player at the top of your starting rotation, and you are missing your number 1 hitter, the best player on your team, Joe, your team is going to, from top to bottom, struggle. Right? Like, there are very, very rarely teams. Like, I know everybody's like Dodgers, whatever, but look at the Atlanta Braves, Joe. I want to give that example. Right? They had a ton of injuries, and especially to their top guys, right? You had Strider out, you had Riley out, you had Acuna Jr. out, right? You had, I forget who else was out. Iglesias was out for a little while. I think it was last year or something like that. But they had 2 years in a row where their top guys were hurt, right? And it hurts the rest of your team. If you get your 4 best guys that you could possibly have in their roles back, your setup guy, your closer, your star pitcher, and your top hitter, all at the same time, do you think that's not going to uplift everybody and give them this hope that this season can come back, right? They're already injured. I don't think, knock on wood, hopefully any of the 4 of them are going to get any more injured than they were before, right? Theoretically, at least. Hopefully. The idea is that they will all come back, and as long as this team can just stay in it, just be there. Like, this would be the perfect time for Gino to go hot enough to keep this team treading water for the next 2 weeks, just in time for everybody to come back. And that's all they need. And then they are literally right back in it. And because you have an entire second half of the season. They're not even halfway through the season yet, Joe. So, it sucks, and I know everybody's like, well, their depth, blah, blah, blah. I understand that, but our depth includes JJ Bleday, who has been up here now the whole season. It includes Noelvi Marte, who has seemingly, got his head on straight, and they're finally playing him consistently. It includes Blake Dunn, right? It includes, TJ Antone. It includes, I don't know who else. I mean, Rhett Lauder and Chase Burns. It's just the depth has been beaten to a pulp and is now only finally starting to come back. So the hope is that they can all come back, Joe. We make a push. I think if this team is at least around 500 and they are less than 5 games out of the wild card, I think that they will push to make a trade. They're not asking for much. We just need guys who can go in the damn bullpen and not be complete liabilities. I do not care if they have a 4 ERA. They can all have 4 ERAs. That is good enough compared to the 10s and the 8s and the infinite ones, whatever Junior Marte had. That will be more than enough, and this team can compete, I think, with some of the best teams in baseball when the tops of all 3 of the major portions of a team can come back. That's
I think that. I think that's good. No, I think, like I said, it is frustrating that we do have a lot of our key players out, and there should be more depth, and the front office needs some accountability for that. And you can't say that we ran out of pitchers. We didn't expect guys to get hurt, because everyone gets hurt these days,
exactly,
especially pitchers. So that's something that they need to figure out in the future. There is a world where they get, again, you said they're most key players, but like the biggest thing is you get two of your best players, your two best players. I mean, over the last 2 or 3 years, but two best players. And you add it to what we have, and then you have extra bullpen arms. Even if you don't like Pagan or Pierce Johnson, whatever, you get extra bullpen arms. That is amazing. Rob, there is some like evidence of and you mentioned the Braves. The year they won in 2021, they had injuries too that year. Remember, like Ronald Acuna got
Yep.
hurt. He missed the rest of the season. He only played 82 games. Marcell Ozuna, I think, only played 48 games for him. They had to make deals at the deadline to be aggressive, and everyone was wondering, like, why are you doing this? Like, this is your best players out. You guys have injuries, and they're gonna get guys like Jock Peterson, who obviously has been more of a journeyman lately after the start with the Dodgers, and they go win the World Series. They have an 88 win team. Obviously, their talent maybe is a little bit better than ours, just with all the team players they do have. But they were injured too. They went and made that trade, so if they can hold on, if they can stay within striking distance of the wild card, these guys come back, and there's some faith actually going into the All-Star break that things are going to be better. And maybe we do get close, we stay around 500. Yeah, you could go get guys like the Braves did in that year, and you could go make a run. That it's still very possible, especially the start of the second half schedule is pretty easy, and then at the end of the year it gets hard again. But there's a path where we can make up some real ground if they can kind of just stay in it. And that's what I was saying when I said if they could just win, go 3-6 for the first three series out of it, and they've missed it by one game, and then the next they won one against the Diamondbacks, they go 4 out of 4-9 after that, or whatever it was, 4-8. They almost stayed close enough, and I still think they can do that, especially with the series coming up with the Mets. But there is history of this. It does come from an ownership group that has been more aggressive, that is willing to spend money, that is willing to sign some of the young players. That is something we don't have. But if they did decide that, hey, these guys are back, we're a good baseball team when everyone is healthy, we want to take a shot at this and go back to the playoffs, there's precedent that it has been done before, and they can make that trade, even if it does seem like a time where 2 weeks from now, everyone's, we're waiting for these guys to come back still, or they're just,
Yeah.
like, some people would say, why is this even worth it? But there is a case where it could be.
I mean, let's be real here. I mean, the only teams that are truly out of reach right now in the NL are the Dodgers, the Braves, and the Brewers. That is it. Everybody else is right there and very much not only beatable, but can be teams that you can catch up to and overtake. And there are teams that are going to become sellers. It's looking like the Mets, the Giants, and the Rockies, maybe the Marlins. They're all going to be sellers. There are a lot of people who still think that even though the Nationals are only a game out of the wild card, that they may still be sellers. Everybody, I mean, there are teams that are going to have fall-offs, Joe. It's not just the Reds that are going to go through really tough times. It's just been really weird that the Reds have been going through a tough 6-week stretch while pretty much everybody else has been playing pretty average or above average baseball. Well, other than the Cubs. But yeah, like it is. I mean, it's just kind of crazy how that's all coming together, and we'll have to see what happens, but they have a path. It's just they gotta stay alive right now. They just have to survive the next 2 weeks, because these 2 weeks are rough. And when I say survive, I mean they're gonna have to be as close to 500 as they can get. They just have to. If they get 7 games below 500 by the end of June, it's not impossible by any stretch, but they are going to have to play some pretty inspired baseball to find their way back into it. And I don't. It's not that I don't believe they can do that, but they're going to be in trouble. And we'll have to see, Joe. We've still got games to talk about here later today, but that's our answers to if the returning guys are going to be enough here. Joe, let's hop into, should the Reds keep JJ Bleday? Now, this was a conversation I saw on Twitter as well as one that I had over the weekend, and it depended to me on, I thought Bleday was out of arbitration years for some reason. Well, because they signed him, and I know that it technically carries over, but I just thought he's been in the league for so long, he's been traded a couple places, I just assumed that he was already out of options or out of arbitration years. The Reds signed him, and they technically have him for another 2 years. He's either going to be one of the most valuable assets at the trade deadline, or do you look at him as an outfielder that you can build around for the future? As he is heading into his prime, he has seemingly figured it out in Cincinnati. He seems to enjoy himself here. Where are you at? What should they do, Joe? Because I can fully see both arguments because he really could be a very valuable trade asset at the deadline if the Reds are in that position. But let's pretend that they're still straddling the line. Which way would you go?
Yeah, this really depends on how you feel about the players we currently have. If you believe that these guys are good, and not all of them, like obviously you could be out on Matt McClain, but still in on the rest of the guys, or out on whatever guy you want to pick. He's the hot topic guy for right now because he's just been having a bad season the last two. But if you believe that in the next couple of years you can really build this thing, the starting pitching we think is going to be great, right? I have pretty good faith that we have that. Do you think that Elly and Sal, we're not going to have Gino, so take him out, but Sal and Elly and Spencer Steer and all these guys, or maybe you can get Low and some of these like Suarez come back too. But that's an option. Can with Blade, if you add them in, can this team actually make a run at it? And if you've lost hope, if you again, and it doesn't seem like maybe they have, but they're not signing these guys to long-term extensions, which is concerning to me. But if you've lost hope, then go ahead and trade him and restart things. This is the most valuable guy you're going to have for a long, long term time, other than Elly. When they're not going to trade Elly, they're going to milk that cash cow until he walks in free agency. Or they're going to trade him in the last year of his contract. But you could trade him and get so much back for him and say, hey, it was a 1-year wonder thing with us. We figured something out. It's not going to keep up. I am of the belief that with the 2 extra years of control, you need to keep them. We're a team that is built on cost-controlled players. We don't want to give up a lot of money to people. Joey Votto is a big contract. I know it's very controversial still to this day, but like that's the one time I give up a ton of money to a player, right? We don't do that. You have to keep if you want to win, you have to keep these guys. I would say listen to offers. If there's some egregious offer by some team, they really need a left-handed bat and they want him. They're giving up a lot of their prospects for him, and maybe even a guy who can help us in short term, like already on the major league roster for next year. Maybe you listen. But Rob, I kind of get excited about 2 more years of him if he really has figured it out in this ballpark that is very fitting for his swing style and his left-handed hitting. And you look at the future of I still very much believe in Noelvi Marte. So JJ Bleday, Noelvi Marte in the outfield. Spencer Steer, whether he's in the outfield or infield, big piece. I believe in Sal Stewart. I believe in Elly De La Cruz. I think those guys can be the core of a championship team. Do I think they need to sign some other free agents, whether it's bringing back someone like Suarez, like Nate Lowe, like someone even better than that too, maybe? Sure, I do believe in that. Do they need a better catcher for next year if Stevenson doesn't get anything done? Sure, I get that. I do believe in those guys. I think they're going to be good players. So for that reason, I would not trade him. Again, if there was a crazy offer, maybe I'd consider. If the Reds front office have lost faith in those guys, or most of those guys, or even some of those guys, maybe you have that conversation. But otherwise, you can't pass up on cost-controlled stars like they have right now. You can't pass up on Elly and JJ Bleday and those guys. The only guy they have to the long-term contract, Rob, is Hunter Green, basically. We know we want to sign more of these guys. The salary cap floor coming in next year. Maybe you can sign some of these guys to longer-term contracts, and then it would be really still be beneficial to have JJ Bleday on a cost-controlled contract goes to arbitration. So, yes, if he was like expiring contract and be a free agent, trade him. Two more years of cost-controlled player who can be an impact player for us with these guys all together, hopefully growing and being a good team. That's too good to pass up. You can fix the bullpen this offseason and be right back to where you should be. Starting pitching can stay healthy. Elly can stay healthy. And yeah, maybe Matt McClain is a casualty. Maybe Edwin Arroyo takes a spot at second base. But I think for the most part, I still believe in this young group of guys. And I think that this year might not be the year, but if they do build it solidly around them, there's a chance this team can compete. And maybe at the highest level, if JJ Bleday stays on this trajectory, if Elly De La Cruz stays on this trajectory, if Sal Stewart gets better, there's a chance that they could be a really good lineup and a really good team in 2027, maybe 2028, where you're saying, okay, the Dodgers maybe have a bigger payroll, but maybe we're right there. Maybe we're behind them. Maybe we're the second or third best team in the National League. And some years, like in 2021 with the Braves, when they were 88-win team, some years that's good enough to get it done. So I would say keep them because of the arbitration. I understand fans who might want to trade them and just see like this is another time for try to rebuild because everything's going wrong again. But those 2 cost-controlled years are huge.
Here's the outlook, right, for me. They have Elly until, when is it, 2030. So we got 3 more years of Elly after this season. You have McClain beyond then. You have Marte beyond then. You have Abbott up until then. You have Hunter Green up until then. You have JJ Bleday now up until 2029. For me, this was always the beginning of a 3-year window for this team, Joe. It was 26, 27, and 28. Because pretty much the entire core of the now team is there. You'll get Alfredo Duno and Edwin Arroyo, right, who are younger guys who will come up during that time period. You will probably get Hector Rodriguez that will come up now during that time period. You have some other guys, Jorge Alfaro and a few others who are in that area as well. But to me, this is it. This is your 3-year window. So if they do not believe that they can win in this 3-year window, like you said, with those players, then he needs to be gone. And they need, because the next group of players to build around is Arroyo, is Duno, right? And in my opinion, and people are going to hate me for this, if they're willing to give up already and trade JJ Bleday for younger prospects, if this team cannot win next year, Elly De La Cruz needs to be probably traded before the 2028 season, while he still has an extra year of arbitration, and you can get a bunch of really good stuff for him. I don't want them to do that. I think that they genuinely can win a World Series because most of their pitching staff is here for the next 3 years. Chase Burns, Lauder, I just said Abbott and Green, they're all here. I think Lodolo is gone, or theoretically able to leave after next season, I want to say, or the season after. But they're all relatively in that time frame. The only reason you give up on a guy who is going to potentially hit 40 home runs a year in your ballpark is if you are 100% sure that he is not going to, well, two things. Either A, he is 100% going to regress back to what he was doing with the Oakland Athletics, and that's why he had to get cut, or you're 100% sure that no matter what, money-wise, you believe that the season's going to be gone in 27 and they're not just going to shift everybody's contracts back 1 year because of a lost season, however that's going to work, right? If you believe that something like that's going to happen, then you give up on him here at the trade deadline if this team is not ready to compete. But otherwise, Joe, they have to keep him. He is easily, he is the outfielder that we have been hoping that they would be able to develop. So why get rid of him? He should now, like you said, to your point, be considered part of this core. The only overlap that we are going to have that's going to be tricky is with catcher. That's why they signed Trevino for as long as they did, because they knew Duno was coming up, and the hope would be, I have a very distinct feeling that if they do not get a 1-year deal done with Tyler Stevenson next year, or some other actual starting catcher, there's a very real situation where they will have Trevino. They'll probably bring up PJ Higgins through the beginning of the year next year. And then they will probably have Alfredo Duno starting in AAA. And if he crushes AAA pitching next year early on, there's a very real possibility we'll have a 21-year-old potential future star catcher. But that's everywhere else. Joe is totally, I think, going to be kind of more set. And I think as Marte, really, solidifies himself there, you got Bleday, like you talked about, then you can figure out what you're going to do in center field or in right field, because I think Marte is going to move to center field eventually, and that's just what you're going to do. So that's how I feel about it, Joe. I agree with you almost wholeheartedly, but it's worth asking because I did not recognize the fact that he still had 2 more years of arbitration, and I think you and I both know that there are some teams that will pay a very pretty penny for a guy like JJ Bleday. And if you had asked me 2 years ago for a guy like this, dude, I would have been like, sell his ass now.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, too, is that salary cap floor coming in, there's room to build around the young guys. We're only on the hook right now for Hunter Green's salary goes up by $7 million to $15.3 million. There's a mutual option with Suarez. Early rumors were as he wasn't going to take it. Maybe now he does because it wasn't as good of a season for him. 16 million is nice money. He can take it. Maybe he's bounce back year, right? I think guys who are DHs who hit for power, I think they can hold it off. Yeah, the Brian Hayes 7 million hurts. Yes, Jose Trevino 5.25 million hurts. And then you got Pierce Johnson with an $8 million mutual option. With the way that some of the guys in the bullpen were getting paid last offseason, and with the way that some of the inflation might happen if there is a minimum salary cap floor, that's good that you could possibly talk to him like, hey, Pagan's your friend, why don't you come back? Everything else is either they are free agents or they are arbitration eligible or still on the rookie pay scale, everything. So that is what's really exciting about this is if you do bring back Lede, cost controlled, if the Reds do want to win, and yes, they did go above budget to get Suarez, and can they do it one more year? Can Suarez come back at 16 million? Can you go get another bat for this lineup? Can you go get a couple bullpen arms? Can you get that bullpen star that I wanted this offseason, Rob? Whether that's a Roldis Chapman type guy, Josh Hader, whatever back end of the bullpen guy you prefer. Can it be someone like that? That's what makes it so interesting, and that's why I think you do have to keep them. I know Reds fans won't be happy if we're at the end of the year and we're just not like winning games, and we have all these guys that might be gone from the team in a couple of years, but I think you have to take the risk and keep them if you do want to build that winning team. And I think they do. It's just a matter of whether they're going to shell out the money to do it.
Okay. I mean, I couldn't agree more. We will have to see. I mean, there are a lot of guys still that this team can. I mean, Arroyo's pre-arb, Blake Dunn, he's 27, but still pre-arb, Sal, Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, like they still have a good young core of guys. It's just, when do you align it and how does it go? I'm feeling less and less likely that it's this season, but I'm not willing to give up yet on next season or 2028. I just think that they've got too much talent that will mature, evolve, and just be better. So I tend to agree with you, Joe, and we'll have to see. I mean, if this team is 10 games out and they're just getting ridiculous deals because they do have a lot of good talent that they could sell on, I mean, we'll have to see. I don't know. I'd hate it. That would mean that Tito is also going to probably retire at the end of the season. So that's a whole other conversation that I saw somebody having on Twitter today, Joe, that they were getting Mike Napoli ready to take over after this season is a theory. I'm going to say that's out there right now. That would be kind of crazy to me, but it's very possible because they're losing, I don't think that means like Tito brought this team from obscurity back to a playoff run last year. I think he loved it. I just don't see why he would give up on it just because they're in a bad year. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But I didn't think we were going to get to an hour, Joe, but I think we might. Let's move on to Mets Yankees. Interesting season for the Mets. Obviously, we've already played them once. We will get our opportunity at them one more time this year in this series at home. How are you feeling about it heading into there? We've got Burnsy versus Tobias Myers, Brady Singer versus They Still Do Not Know, and then we'll get another shot of Nick Lodolo and Nolan McLean. Frank the Tank is not going to be pleased because he said Nick Lodolo was the worst pitcher in baseball the last time that we faced him, and obviously that ended up not being true. But I'm intrigued. I mean, Tobias Myers was also, if I remember correctly, Joe, he was in the bullpen last time we saw them just a couple weeks ago. So I mean, they are really on the struggle bus right now, and we lit up McLean last time we played them. So they'll have obviously Juan Soto's back. I think back. A couple of their other guys have really started to kind of come around. Some of their younger guys, AJ Ewing and Carson. Is it Bengay or Bange?
Carson Benj, I believe.
Benj, okay. They've both started to kind of come around too. This team's getting a little healthier, but they are in a more dire position than even the Reds, as they're running out of young talent, as well as some of the old guys not doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's Carson Benj and Juan Soto you have to worry about right now for this team at the plate. There's some other guys like AJ Ewing's playing pretty good, but this is a roster we talked about a couple weeks ago, Rob, so I won't spend too much time on it. They're banged up. A lot of guys are hurt right now. Starting rotation, even some of the position players. Our old friend Luis Robert, who we were always talking about trading for, is hurt right now, and Lindor been banged up this season too. So it is a must-win series because of how bad they are, where we're at in the standings. If you do lose the series and you go down to 5-6 games under 500 at that point, that's where you get to wow, you better turn it on with not just a 5-game win streak, but like a 7 or 8-game win streak, which again is possible when everyone's healthy, maybe not when everyone's not healthy. But yeah, it's a team that's not the most talented overall as like we expect Mets teams to be, but they're also banged up and they have been playing a little bit better as of late. Like, we talked about how bad they were at the start of the season. They're just one game behind us now. They're 32-39. We're 33-37. So they're not one game, but they're close enough to where we are that it's kind of similar, which is kind of crazy. So they need to stay focused in this one. I do think that our hitters can get the advantage on their starting pitchers and their bullpen. I also like that we have Chase Burns starting the series and maybe start us off with a win. So I'm going to say 2 out of 3, Rob. I think that's very possible and kind of has to happen.
I agree with you. I think it has to happen. I'm going to say 2 out of 3. I was prepared to come in here and say 0 of 3, but I think I remember we were playing the Mets, and I was like, well, maybe either that or I'm going to have a Frank the Tank type blowout on Twitter myself, because this team is just not very good. It's just pitch around Juan Soto, and you can pretty much just win the whole thing. So hopefully our guys will not get too big of a head, and they'll stay away from him, and just, if the other guys beat you, the other guys have one of their best games of the season. That is what it is. So let's move on to the Yankees, though. Yankees are a bit of a different story, Joe. We've talked about it before. They are a very solid team. They are really starting to get healthy. They are missing Aaron Judge, so that is definitely a huge positive for them. I'll admit it. I'm still a slight Yankees fan, not like I was when I was younger. I actually found a picture of me at 5 years old with a Yankees jersey on, Joe. So anybody trying to say that I'm not an OG fan, you can get out of here. But the Reds will send out Rhett Lauder versus Cam Schlittler, I believe. Andrew Abbott versus Will Warren, and then Chase Burns versus Garrett Cole. Yeah, I mean, look, this team has been really solid. We're looking at, I think, some of their best starting pitchers. Schlittler is really good. Will Warren's been solid. Garrett Cole has been very good since he has come back. Their bullpen is pretty good, all things considered. Their hitting has been what has had some people worried, but Ben Rice has been an epiphany in the last couple of years there. Cody Bellinger's having another solid season. Goldschmidt, when he does play, he doesn't play a ton, but when he does play, he does some damage. Their defense is not great. They do not have a great team up the middle of the field. Jazz Chisholm's solid, but he's not like outstanding, and they don't know if they're going to use Anthony Volpe or Jose Caballero. So, we'll have to see with that. Their catchers can't really hit either. They went through, I think, the longest streak of any position of not getting a hit in baseball between multiple players. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. They're not very fast, other than Caballero and Chisholm. They can hit for power. They do better at home, and I'm very worried about this Reds team, mainly because of the starting pitchers that we're going to be facing.
Yeah, this is a tough matchup. We do seem to play up to competition, especially teams like the Yankees and Dodgers, and especially Elly, but Ellie's not here, so that kind of makes it tougher. But yeah, this is the time you would want to play the Yankees. Yes, there are guys holding over the offense, like Ben Rice, like Paul Goldschmidt when he plays, who's had to play more. They have Max Fried, 15-day IL. Austin Wells, 10-day IL. Catcher, not hitting the ball well, but still makes it
He's a good catcher.
Depth. Yeah, he's fine. And then you have Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton all in the 10-day IL. Can they all come back before this? I don't know. You know how injuries are. I'm not going to predict when they're going to come back because we have guys who we thought Elly might be back this past week, so it's still going to be a while. That's all their big hitters, right? That's the guys they're paying the big bucks to. Yes, there's some good hitters, Ben Rice and Paul Goldschmidt and all that, but this is the time to play them. You can have a less deep lineup to go through. We have worse pitchers, so maybe that'll be good, and maybe we can hit their starters a bit, just get on a run. Like I said, we never know when Gino's going to get going, and that can be something that can be huge in this series specifically. But yeah, this is a good time to play them. I just can't see the Reds winning more than one game in the series the way they're playing. Maybe if they get some momentum going with the Mets, and maybe they play in New York and they get things going, and maybe they get some vibes changing, that'd be something that could help. But unless I see the vibes changing, I don't really know if I can predict anything more than that. So I'm going to say 1 out of 3. Could easily be swept because those starting pitchers are really good. But hey, if we can score some runs, they might have some issues scoring runs because of all their big hitters out.
For the first time in a very long time, Joe, I'm going to go 0-3. I just think the Yankees, we struggle so badly against good pitching, especially good starting pitching. And while Garrett Cole is still kind of on like a pitching innings limit, going up against, Schlittler and Warren is going to be not a fun task. We do not do well at seeing pitches. We swing at the first good thing that we see. That's kind of been their MO all season. And while I don't discount Lauder, Abbott, and Burns in almost any other series, you're going up against New York's finest in terms of starting pitching wise, and I'm just not confident. I think all 3 games will be close, but I'm not confident that you know in the house, that Ruth built, that they are going to be able to get it done. I hope I'm wrong. I would love for that to be the case. I think if Elly was playing, he loves the spotlight. I think he would do much better, but I just like you might get a couple home runs out of Suarez and maybe Marte. Maybe it'll keep the game kind of close, but I just do not have confidence that we are going to be able to get to these guys and be able to get some guys on base, get them into tough innings on a consistent enough basis. I'm almost willing to predict that all 3 of these guys will go 6 or 7 innings in this series at a minimum. I think there's a chance that we will see a complete game against at least one of them against us, which is very hard to accept for me personally. And I'm not saying it because I'm a Yankees fan. I do just watch enough of their games and see enough of their stuff to know that I just don't. I think right now, unfortunately, without Elly and with the way, like you said, the vibes are, I just think it's going to be too tough. Now, if what I will tell you is if we go in and against Schlittler, we're able to get him out of there in 5 innings because we're actually watching pitches, we're fouling tough stuff off, getting ourselves into better positions, and we're within 2 or 3 runs, maybe I'll feel a little bit better. I just haven't seen it all year, Joe. I mean, they can barely get bad pitchers out of innings, or out of games early. So, yeah, if we had a decent bullpen, I might feel a little better too. But I have a feeling these games will be close. We'll have maybe even a 2-1 lead at some point, and then the bullpen will just blow it. So that's where my confidence is at, guys. I don't even know if we can go to New York and win one, but I would love to be wrong. I love it when that ends up being the case. So I hope I'm wrong, and I hope everybody comes on here and says, hey, you idiot, we just swept the Yankees. Like, screw you for picking against us. But my confidence is very, very near an all-time low for this team right now, despite what I said about their ability to come back.
Yeah, no, I would pick, if we were fully healthy and the vibes were higher, I'd pick 2 out of 3. I think they can take this series with the guys that the Yankees have out. And again, you're right, they're playing solidly without them, but
yeah,
I think it's just easier to go through a lineup with all those guys hurt. So, yeah, 1 out of 3 for me. And yeah, I think it could be a tough end of the week. Hopefully, like we said, we could win that Mets series. We could stay right at 500 or around there for the week, and then we get some good news about those guys coming back, and then things can turn around from that point, which would require us to play some games against the division for the next 9 game or 10 games after that, which would be tough. But that is something we can address when we get there.
I already looked ahead, and I was not looking forward to that either. This Mets series may be the last bit of fun that I get to have, that any of us get to have for the next 3 weeks, but we'll see. We will see what happens. Joe, as always, we're going to end it on you. What are you feeling? How you looking? What's the wise words and fun facts?
Well, the Knicks won an NBA title, and that means that the Reds are moving down the list of teams and how long it's been for them to win.
Yep.
Rob, we're getting older. We want to see them win a title. Knicks were since 1973, and I'm afraid we're not going to see the Reds for a long time unless they get things rolling here. And the winning not really coming lately is hurting as well. On some other news, Jacob Mizorowski, Maddox, which
Big
is
time
throwing a
Maddox.
complete game under 100 pitches. He also had 15 strikeouts. He did not have 1 3-ball count. That is what you want in a pitcher. Out of all of the fastest thrown pitches in MLB history by a starter, he has 45 of the top 50, I believe I saw, from a starting pitcher. He threw 105 in this game. Crazy. Also, we mentioned Hector Rodriguez already. He's killing it in AAA. I wanted to mention him. I do, just looking at the future, adding him into that outfield we talked about with Blade and Marte could be really fun if he is ready. And then you have that infield with Steer moving into the infield. That's a fun lineup with Steer and Elly and all those guys in there. So good. I think he hit for the cycle this week, Rob. I believe that's what I saw.
Yes, he did.
So he's been killing it. And then also just some content push here, doing rankings of minor league stadiums I've been to and major league stadiums I've been to this week. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the week. Minor league stadiums will be first if you're into that stuff. I know not a lot of people are into minor league baseball. I just like going to the games and seeing all the wacky promotions. And major league stadiums will be done a little bit later this week, but I won't have the GABP. Remember that we talked about that on the podcast, Rob, where someone had like GABP is like the 3rd worst stadium in the league.
Oh yeah,
like that.
dude,
Like,
that was wild.
that's crazy. It's not going to be that low. It's not going to be number 1, but it's not going to be that low. So I'll give a little teaser there, but. Just other baseball content going around as we're following this Reds team, and if someone wants to take their mind off of how the Reds are playing right now, that's another way you can kind of follow baseball or do something with baseball.
I love it. Do something else with baseball, right? I do want to say too, I gotta find this really quickly, but where was this when Hector Rodriguez got traded to the Reds? I'm gonna find this really quickly because I feel like this is worth noting. Yeah, here we go. So the Reds traded Tyler Naquin and Philip Deal for Hector Rodriguez and Jose Acuna. That's working out pretty good for the Reds. Because Naquin didn't do much, and Hector Rodriguez looks like he's going to be very good, and Acuna is at least some depth. I mean, he was pitcher of the year, I believe, for the Reds last year, so maybe he has a Blake Dunn type resurgence. But yeah, very, very happy and excited about that. It's one of those things that you look back on it and you wonder, man, they traded for this kid when he was like 18 years old, and now he's coming up and potentially pushing for a roster spot either as early as the end of this year or next year. So always happy to see success like that. But Joe, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Reds fans, hang tight. We'll see what happens. Pray for some good games this week. We'll see we'll see if they can hold on long enough for those 4 big guys to come back and maybe give this team the boost that they need. But from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.